Operation Barbarossa. Hitler invades the USSR, 1941. Operation Barbarossa was the German invasion of the Soviet Union, launched on 22 June 1941. It remains the largest military operation in history in terms of manpower, casualties, and geographic scale. Germany deployed over 3 million soldiers, supported by 3,600 tanks, 2,700 aircraft, and approximately 600,000 vehicles. This documentary presents a strictly factual timeline of the campaign from June to December 1941 and explains the movement and objectives of Army Group North, Center, and South, the core structure of Barbarossa. Origins of the invasion. Hitler's strategic thinking. Following the fall of France and the failure to force Britain to surrender, Hitler turned east. His primary goals were seize Soviet food and oil regions, eliminate the US as a military threat, create living space, Lebensraum, for Germany, destroy communism. Planning began in late 1940 under the codename Operation Barbarossa. German underestimation of Soviet strength. German intelligence estimated approximately 200 Soviet divisions, most poorly equipped, most stationed far from the frontier. In reality, the USSR mobilized over 300 divisions by the end of 1941, massive reserves, deep industrial relocation potential, organizational structure of German forces. By June 1941, German forces were divided into 3 main army groups, each with clear geographic objectives. The 3 army groups. This section outlines the map structure of the invasion, critical for understanding Barbarossa. Army Group North Commander, Field Marshal Wilhelm Ritter von Lieb. Objective: advance through the Baltic states, capture Leningrad. Starting position: East Prussia, main axes of advance: Tilsit, Kaunas, Daugavpils, Pskov, Leningrad. Key formations: 16th Army, 18th Army Panzer Group 4, Höppner, Army Group Center Commander. Field Marshal Fedor von Bock. Objective: break through Belarus, capture Smolensk, drive toward Moscow. Starting position: Poland, Central Sector. Main axes of advance: Brest-Litovsk, Minsk, Smolensk, Moscow. Key formations: 9th Army, 4th Army Panzer Group 2, Guderian. Panzer Group 3, Hoth. This group possessed the largest concentration of tanks. Army Group South Commander, Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt. Objective: seize Ukraine, its industrial regions, and eventually the Caucasus. Starting position: southern Poland plus Romania. Main axes of advance: Lviv to Kiev, to Dnieper River. Rostov. Key formations: 6th Army, 17th Army, 11th Army Panzer Group 1, Kleist, Romanian, Hungarian, and Slovak units. The opening attack, 22nd June 1941. The initial bombardment at 03:15 a.m. German forces began artillery and aerial bombardment along a 1,800-mile front. The Luftwaffe destroyed over 1,200 Soviet aircraft on the ground. Many airfields within the first 24 hours, the Red Air Force was caught by surprise. Border battles. German mechanized units broke through Soviet border defenses rapidly. Key breaches: Brest-Litovsk-Suwalki Gap, Lviv sector, Baltic frontier. The Soviet command structure suffered severe disruption. The first phase, June-mid-July 1941. Army Group movements begin. Army Group North. Rapid advance through the Baltics, 22nd to 29th June. Captures: Kaunas, Daugavpils crosses major rivers including the Daugava, 30th June to 10th July. Advances toward Pskov, Ostrov. Goal: cut off Soviet forces in the Baltics and isolate Leningrad. By mid-July, German forces reached the Stalin Line defenses north of Pskov. Army Group Center, the Minsk-Smolensk breakthrough, 22nd to 28th June, the encirclement of Minsk panzer groups. 2 and 3 executed a double envelopment east of Minsk. Outcomes: 300,000 Soviet troops encircled Minsk, captured on 28th June. German forces gained full control of Belarusian rail hubs. Early July, drive toward Smolensk panzer formations surged ahead, 150 to 200 miles. By the 16th of July, Smolensk fell. This was a major operational victory. However, Soviet resistance grew stronger east of Smolensk. Army Group South, slower progress in Ukraine. The Southern Front had the heaviest Soviet troop density. 22nd to 30th June. Battles around Lviv stiff Soviet counterattacks slowed Kleist's panzer group. Early July, Battle of Brody, one of the war's largest tank battles, approximately. 3,000 tanks engaged. German advantage in coordination and air support produced a breakthrough. Progress slowed due to difficult terrain, strong Soviet fortifications, river obstacles, large Soviet strategic reserve formations. July-August 1941. The campaign expands. Army Group North toward Leningrad. July, capture of Pskov and Ostrov. These positions opened the gateway to Leningrad. August. Approaching Leningrad's outer defenses. By late August 1941, Germans reached the outskirts of Leningrad, Finnish. Forces advanced from the north. Soviet Baltic Fleet trapped in Kronstadt. Army Group North prepared for a prolonged siege rather than an all-out assault. Army Group Center, the Smolensk pocket and strategic debates. The Smolensk encirclement, mid-July. Another large Soviet force was encircled, captured or destroyed. Approximately 200,000 Soviet troops, large quantities of equipment. Despite the victory, Soviet forces launched continuous counterattacks. Hitler's strategic decision: Kiev or Moscow. German generals, particularly Halder and Guderian, urged immediate advance on Moscow. Hitler disagreed. Hitler ordered Panzer Group II, Guderian, to move south. Panzer Group III partially redeployed Army Group Center to pause. This decision changed the entire course of the war. Army Group South, the push toward Kiev. August, breakthrough at Uman. A major Soviet force was encircled. Late August-September, the approach to Kiev was defended by large Soviet forces. The Kiev encirclement, the German advance into Ukraine, produced the largest encirclement battle in military history up to that point. Hitler redirects Guderian south. In late August 1941, Hitler ordered Panzer Group II, Guderian, to pivot south from the Smolensk axis. This movement linked Army Group Center with Army Group South in a vast pincer movement aimed at Kiev. Objectives: destroy Soviet Southwestern Front, secure Ukraine, protect the flank for a later advance toward Moscow. This redeployment slowed the advance on Moscow, but enabled a major operational victory. The Kiev Cauldron, September 1941. The encirclement began when Panzer Group I, Kleist, advanced north from Ukraine. Panzer Group II advanced South Soviet forces became trapped west of the Dnieper River. Results. Historical estimates. Approximately 450,000 Soviet troops encircled, thousands of tanks, guns, and supply vehicles captured. Complete destruction of the Soviet Southwestern Front, Kiev, fell on 19 September 1941. This was one of Germany's most decisive operational victories of the war. The drive toward Moscow. After Kiev, the road to Moscow appeared open. Operation Typhoon, the final push toward Moscow, began. Reformation of Army Group Center in late September. Panzer Group. 2 returned from the south, Panzer Group. 3 redeployed Army Group Center reconcentrated armor force structure, 9th Army, 4th Army Panzer Groups 2, 3, and 4 combined. These forces represented the strongest concentration of German armor on the Eastern Front. Operation Typhoon begins, 2nd October 1941. The German attack opened with breakthroughs near Vyazma Bryansk, double encirclement, approximately 600,000 Soviet soldiers encircled, large quantities of artillery and vehicles destroyed. The road to Moscow was theoretically open. Logistical collapse. Despite tactical victories, structural problems emerged. The distance factor Germany advanced hundreds of miles into the USSR. Supply lines became overstretched. Issues included long rail conversion time from Soviet broad gauge to European standard inadequate trucks, severe fuel shortages, poor road conditions, weather deterioration, autumn rains, turned roads into deep mud, Rasputitsa. Effects: tanks and trucks immobilized. Supply delays increased, artillery transport slowed, Luftwaffe support was reduced due to worsening weather conditions. Approach to Moscow, 1:45 to 2. 9.1, late October advance. Despite conditions, German forces approached within 60 to 90 miles of Moscow by late October. Cities captured included Vyazma Bryansk, Mozhaisk, Soviet defense planning. Marshal Zhukov consolidated Soviet lines west of Moscow, forming Mozhaisk Line new reserve armies, reinforced defensive belts. The November offensive temperatures dropped below freezing, briefly improving road conditions. Germany launched a renewed assault. Key advances: Kalinin captured push toward Klin panzer divisions, approached Istra Reservoir German proximity. By early December, forward units reached the town of Khimki, approx 30 kilometers from central Moscow. German patrols were at the closest distance they would ever reach. The Soviet winter counteroffensive. The German advance ended in early December due to extreme cold, 20 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius, equipment malfunctions, frozen lubricants, frostbite supply exhaustion. The Soviet Union launched a counteroffensive on 5 December 1941. Zhukov's counterattack, Soviet reserve armies, many redeployed from Siberia, attacked the overstretched German lines. Soviet gains: pushed Germans 100 to 150 kilometers west, stabilized the front around Moscow. This marked Germany's first major strategic defeat of the war. The failure of Barbarossa. Operation Barbarossa failed for multiple interlocking reasons. Underestimation of Soviet mobilization. The USSR mobilized more reserves than German planners anticipated. Industrial relocation beyond the Urals allowed continued tank and aircraft production. Logistical overreach. Germany lacked sufficient trucks, adequate fuel stockpiles, proper winter equipment, ability to repair railroads, quickly supply infrastructure for a multi-thousand-kilometer advance. Multi-directional objectives. Hitler insisted on simultaneous offensives toward Leningrad, toward Moscow, toward Ukraine. This diluted Germany's striking power and prevented a concentrated blow. Strategic miscalculations. Hitler believed the USSR would collapse within months. The Soviet state endured the initial onslaught and reorganized effectively. Strategic consequences. Germany's two-front war begins. With the failure to take Moscow before winter, Germany entered a prolonged conflict. The Eastern Front became a war of attrition Germany could not win. The scale of losses, 1941. Approximate 1941 casualty figures. Germany, Over 800,000 casualties, tens of thousands of vehicles lost, 2,000+ aircraft destroyed, critical fuel shortages, Soviet Union, around 3 million soldiers captured, enormous equipment losses, large territorial losses, civilian casualties in the millions. Despite these losses, the USSR remained operational. End of Barbarossa, December 1941. By late December, German forces dug in for winter. Soviet counterattacks expanded. The blitzkrieg phase of the war was over. Germany had failed to achieve a rapid victory. Operation Barbarossa conclusively ended with the Soviet winter counteroffensive. Operation Barbarossa was the largest invasion in history. Germany achieved major operational victories, but failed strategically. The objectives: capture of Leningrad, capture of Moscow, capture of Ukraine, destruction of the Red Army, were all only partially achieved or not achieved at all. The invasion transformed World War II into a global, total conflict and set the stage for decisive battles to come, including Siege of Leningrad, Battle of Stalingrad, Battle of Kursk. Barbarossa marked the turning point, where Germany lost the ability to decisively win the war.